All right, we're going to kind of take a little bit of a semi step back into finding motivated sellers today. It'll be sort of a basic rehash of that. Maybe not new for some of you. We do have some new people in here. David, I see you in here. What's up, man? Good to see you.
Hey Mike, how's it going?
Good. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Anybody doesn't know me at this point, Mike Cappello, wholesaler, investor, also licensed agent and owner of Sell Simply. But let's take a minute because we do have a couple new people in here today to give us a quick introduction, name, what you're doing, what you want to do, where you're at in the process, 30-second elevator pitch. So everybody knows who's in here, so we can continue to do some deals together. I just put a property under contract with one of our students, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I want to do more of that. So, Alex, you're always at the top of the screen, man. So Alex G. I'll let you go first, man.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alex, commercial and residential investor, uh, semi-wholesaler, if you will. Got my first deal a couple months ago. Still looking for my next. Been having a lot of conversations with other wholesalers about. It's been a bit of a slow 60 to 90 days for me. I really felt a lot of momentum and it kind of slowed down. A couple people had some interesting thoughts on that. Maybe the election having something to do with it and people's motivation before that. But decided to change up how I got my real estate data. And hopefully that'll make a difference. We can talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, nice to meet everybody.
Sure. Definitely want to hear about that. Amy, what's up? Why don't you say hi?
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm in Southern California. New to wholesaling, primarily fix and flips. I started dabbling in seller finance, and started knocking some foreclosure doors in the morning, early mornings, and get me out, see if that has any traction.
I
Looking
love it.
for a first deal, and hopefully I can find one good enough that I can invest myself.
Cool. I love door knocking. Keep that up. David, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here. Hey, my name is David Chong. So in Virginia, they just made new real register legislation where we need like a real estate license to actually start wholesaling or to do more than one deal a year. So we just got through that process. Just got my license, or passed the official licensing exam last week. So I'm
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah. And so now planning on joining the brokerage, Mike's brokerage, and starting a wholesale business from there. So just starting out, and still need to figure out CRM. Still need to. I figure my method of finding leads is probably going to be through MLS, but we'll see. Yeah, how that goes. So
Cool, man. Congrats. I saw the thread with you and Jess that you passed, and I didn't have a chance to congratulate you. So that's big news. And yeah,
thank you.
David's gonna be joining Gain, it looks like, and
Mhm.
EXP and all the cool stuff we're doing with Grid. And so
Mhm.
that's awesome, man.
Cool. Thanks, man. Yep.
And let's go over to Alex H. What's up, man? Alexander.
So, David, I am booked for the exam tomorrow. How is it compared to all the coursework with the CE shop thing?
Yeah, so I guess it would depend on which course that you got. I would say that the courses, I don't want to say that they're a lot more difficult, but like the coursework, or in terms of the course that I took, was a lot more, like significantly more difficult.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. See,
Yeah,
I was worried that it would be an opposite effect, that I would memorize the questions because
mhm,
I'm a programmer at heart, so I just know how the back system would work with this kind of a thing. So I'm
mhm.
insisting on getting myself 90s before starting taking the test.
Yeah,
So which so that makes me confident that you're saying that it's a little bit harder.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So yeah,
So,
I'm booked for tomorrow, and I'm also doing what David is doing. I'm
mm,
joining EXP. I'm joining Grid. It's in different neighborhoods, so Mike's just one step west, one hex grid west of me, and I'll be with Rob's group, which Rob is Mike's mentor. So
Mm,
yeah.
cool.
Uh,
Awesome.
and it sorry, director of expansion Justin Myers
Yep.
called a couple of, did he call on Friday, a couple of days ago? And like as soon as I said that I'm in Virginia, it's like, oh yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, he already knew the name off the bat last Thursday. And for all my stuff. So,
You're breaking up a little bit.
yeah, you know,
Jay, why don't you go ahead and go? Alex, why don't you work on your audio a little bit? Jay, what's up, man?
Yeah. So I've been in real estate for 3 years, going to my fourth year here at the start of November. Recently started, I'm not licensed, but I do work with a real estate team here in Maryland. We just got um, one of my spheres reached out and we got them under contract last week. And then just got a buyer for the property that I got under contract 2 weeks ago.
Let's go.
So that's closing at the end of October.
All right.
So that should put me at 3 total deals for the year. But it's just been a lot of learning, a lot of failing, I should say. And then slowly getting 1% better, which is what I'm looking for.
That's what's up, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too.
Snapper. Driving.
Snapper Tams, attorney, agent, investor, gain member, EXP agent, but not doing a ton of retail stuff. So congratulations to all you new gain members. If I can be helpful in any way as you guys get started, let me know. You'll get like 5 billion emails from EXP. It's really annoying and super inefficient. So if I can kind of help you navigate that, let me know. Happy to be of service.
Yeah, Snapper just went through it also. David and Alex, you guys have EXP gain related questions that aren't being answered. Snapper's your guy. Cool. Any of the people that aren't on cams want to jump on? Nick, Schubert, Mona, Tim, you guys want to say hi, cool, chime in?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm Schubert. I got invited to this call from my friend David, and I'm on pretty much on the same timeline as him and Alex in terms of me being a pretty new into real estate and wholesaling. I just finished my course exam, but I haven't taken my state exam yet, so I'm preparing for
Cool.
that. Still need to look for a brokerage, but David told me about EXP and Gain and how that can benefit me and how that can really progress me into real estate. So looking forward to learning something new on this call and hopefully see if Gain is right for me. Thanks for hosting.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure, man. We should jump on a call, man. Hit me up after this. Let's find some time to chat.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thanks,
Great.
Mike.
Thanks for the invite, David. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Nick,
Yeah.
Mona.
I
Yep,
can go,
Nick's
I can go
there. Yeah,
next.
go ahead, Nick.
Trying to figure out why my profile picture is not popping up, but I'm currently working on a computer without a camera. So,
Okay.
but yeah, my name's Nick, former mechanical engineer that was designing commercial MEP systems for commercial buildings. Recently have gotten full-time into wholesaling, trying to start a business here in Gainesville, Florida, with a partner of mine. We did close our first deal about a month ago. It was a land deal. Even though I hate doing land deals, it happened to come across my lap and I couldn't say no. So that was really encouraging.
Oh yeah.
And then as of this last week, I think I can relate to Jay for sure because I actually had a moment last night where I felt like I really dropped the ball on a killer deal, and someone else kind of came in and obviously I got it from there. So really big mistake, mostly on my part, just from a lack of communication and knowledge. But it's one of those where I'm happy to at least learn the lesson. And since then, right before I jumped on this call, I called somebody that had really good expertise in this area, and they gave me some really good feedback. So it's at least something that I now feel armed to tackle in the next one. But yeah, just trying to, get some wholesaling done here in the next few months, make a business out of it, hopefully to replace my previous W-2. and just see where it goes.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, not failures, just lessons. They continue and continue throughout, life and throughout this business. You're not going to get every deal. You're going to lose deals. Like when it happens early on, it feels like a failure, but it's going to continue to happen. So you just got to learn those lessons as you go and continue to get better. I mean, I lost a huge deal this year, that I tried to forget, but now I'm remembering.
Sorry for the trigger.
And it just happens. And yeah, Snapper, I think that was Snapper that just put in the chat, time kills all deals. That's for sure. That's one we hear a lot in Rob's world. That's one I use a lot. That can always be an issue. That was the issue with the deal that I lost. I mean, I just kind of let it drag, even though I had it under contract. I let it drag. It was a probate situation. I kind of had some other stuff going on. I wasn't being as proactive, and somebody kind of swooped in on it, and it happens. So, you take those lumps. Don't beat yourself up about it. There's always another deal. Even when you're just starting out and it feels like you work so hard to find that one, those are just the lessons that we got to learn from. So thank you for sharing that.
Hey, Mike, can I give a bit of encouragement to everyone in the group, since we all seem to experience more failure than successes? Last Thursday, I went to the I-81 meetup in Martinsburg, and there was a gentleman there sharing a success story. He just made $175,000 on a wholesale fee. And he was kind of, talking about the fact that while it seems great, all the failures he had to go through to get there. And, he just kept plugging away. So as down as I get, and as demoralizing as it can be sometimes, sometimes you're just only one call away. You just never know. So, he damn near got a standing ovation for having that much of a success in just one deal. So for everyone there struggling like myself, just keep pushing.
And a perfect intro to my topic for today. So we'll talk more about that. We've got a couple more people. Mona, I don't know if you want to chime in, or Tim, before we get going.
Yeah, this is Tim.
Hey,
Yeah,
Tim.
I'll chime in. Yeah, I've been around to some of the CASA meetings, but I've probably been on one or two of these meetings. I am let me see, kind of a little bit of industry experience, ex real estate agent, maybe back like 25 years ago. I've done mortgage loans, and I do a little bit of work in the construction side of things. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on wholesaling. So far, I seem to be really good at finding the hairiest deals possible. A lot of them are off market and typically tend to scare people away because there's one or two things going on no one wants to deal with. So just trying to plug away at it and keep working until one of these, come through. And right now, I do a lot of bird dogging, finding off market deals. And that's kind of where I sit, more of a middleman, bringing the investor to the seller, trying to solve a problem. So it's about there is no perfect fit for what I do, because it's never, it's always a deal. Everyone's like, it seems too much trouble. So right now, my biggest thing is just connecting with people. I have access to a large database. I have a lot of agents I network with, and I know a little bit, I know some contractors that'll give really good pricing on materials, and, people are looking to get property repaired before they actually flip it. I can help in that aspect. But right now, looking for investor partners, buyers, people that are looking for deals.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for the intro, and
Hey
bring me
Tim,
all your.
Tim, I recognize you, man. Good to see you here.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a while.
Yeah. You just got in late, but I've been concentrating on getting my real estate license so I can actually help the buyers too. So that's why I haven't seen you for a bunch of months. But yeah.
Sweet. Bring me all those ugly, scary deals, Tim. I like the ugly, scary ones.
Yeah, well, I will have your email, so I'll send you kind of a scenario.
Yeah, cool. Anybody else before we get started, Mona? Or I think Ryan just hopped in.
Okay, I will introduce myself.
Hi, Mona.
Hi. So I'm Mona and I'm wholesaling right now, building my database. So if you're not in my database, please reach out to me because I'm adding
Love it.
as we go. Yeah. But Mike, can I ask you a quick question about what you had said earlier?
Fire away.
Okay. You had a big deal under contract, you said.
Yes.
And you had said, now here's my question. How did someone swoop in if you had the deal under contract?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, I didn't really do anything to protect my interest, i.e., cloud title, file a memorandum, do some of these things that you can do when you have a property under contract to prevent somebody from doing it. It was a deal that I worked on with this seller for like probably 3 months. It's a probate situation, so I was kind of trying to help them get it sellable by the heirs. I was working with a couple of the heirs of the property owner who had passed away.
You were doing a novation?
No, I was actually probably gonna flip it, maybe wholesale it. But I was trying to get it. They couldn't sell it because they didn't have the rights to sell it yet. So I was working with them and the county and title to get them signing the right affidavits and everything that needed to be done in order to allow them to sell the property as heirs to the estate. And I basically got them all the way through everything. And then another investor, I actually know who it is, came in and I'm assuming probably offered them significantly more money. And I, again, didn't have any sort of protection other than I felt like I'd done a good enough job building rapport with this seller, which is not sufficient enough. And they essentially signed the affidavit, signed this other contract, and closed in like 2 weeks after everything had been done. And could I have tried to, stake claim to it, make a stink about it? Yeah, but it wasn't a fight that I really wanted to fight, and I kind of just took it as a learning lesson, and not going to let that happen again. But the lesson there is when you put a property under contract, you should either file a memorandum with the county that you're in, have your seller either sign a memorandum at along with a purchase contract, or have some sort of verbiage in your contract, which I believe mine does, so that you can file. But different counties have different regulations about memorandum filing. Some you can file without seller signatures, some you can't. In this case, I actually went and tried once I sort of started catching wind that I felt like something was going on, which I found out to be true. And I went to the courthouse to try and scramble to file a memorandum, and they wouldn't let me do it without seller signature. So the seller wouldn't sign it. They signed this other contract and they closed on it. And so
And you just didn't pursue it.
I didn't pursue it. It would have been a pain in the ass. Frankly, it is a pain in the ass to go through that process. And so I just kind of took my lump on it and said, that's not going to happen again. So,
And then your advice is to file, sorry, I'm going a little,
Yep.
I don't know if I'm going fast or slow, but your advice is to file a memorandum
File
with,
a memorandum with the county. Basically, what that does is files your interest in the property before closing. So if I had done that and this contract would have been signed and taken to another title company and they went and pulled title, they would see that there's already an interest, there's already a buyer basically with interest, and they would have to come through me in order to release my memorandum so that they could close on the property, at which time I could say, screw off. I could say, pay me, 10 grand and I'll release it. Or, I could be a nice guy and just release it, but um it protects you in that way.
thanks. That's, your loss is all of our gain, but
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
sorry, I'm sorry for that loss. but-
No, I mean, again, it's just one of those things. It happens. I knew that. It's not like I didn't know what a memorandum was before this. Do I always file them? No. Have I historically filed them? No. Will I be filing them in the future? Yes. But a lot of times, I feel like I do a good. There are cases there. I won't say that I haven't filed them in the past. There are cases where I have filed them because I judge people's characters. When you spend time with people and you put the property under
Right.
contract and you get a sense, hey, this guy seems a little squirrely. I might want to make sure that he's not going to squirrel out on me and go to some other investor or whatever, or back out. I'm going to file that memorandum, and I have done that. But a lot of the times, I feel like I do a good enough job building rapport with people and building trust with people that, they won't do it. But you just never know. And one of Pace Morby's famous adages is buyers are liars and sellers are worse. And that can be true. So I would say, as a good practice, file your memorandums because even when you think you don't.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Of course. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and press on. If you didn't have a chance to say hi or introduce yourself, I'm sorry, but it is 4:30. I want to get into today's topic. If anybody does care to share, we'll do a quick recap. We didn't have training last week. We didn't have trainings for a couple weeks before that. I think there was one sprinkled in there, but it's been a while since I've seen a lot of you guys. We'll take like maybe 10 minutes to do a quick recap if anybody wants to share anything or has any other questions like Mona about anything we've talked about up to this point. We can do that, but I do want to jump into today's topic and spend some time there because I think it's very relevant to what we're talking about already. But I'll open it up to the group. Also, if anybody that didn't share wants to introduce themselves, I guess we can go ahead and do that too. But anybody care to share anything, wins, breakthroughs, challenges from the last few weeks, couple months? We got a good group today too, by the way. This is exciting. Thank you all for being here. Jay, is your hand up or are you scratching your head? I'll share a couple real quick to get it going. I probably a lot of you guys saw the property that I was pushing out, Strasburg Road, probably over the last month. I didn't find a buyer for it at the price I was looking to get, and I ended up renegotiating that contract once. I had it at 225. I think I was pushing it out at like 245. I was really looking for, it wasn't a great flip, definitely not a flip. It's more of like a buy and hold or cash buyer, investor or retail buyer. I knew that. Didn't find a buyer at 245. Went back to the seller after a couple weeks, renegotiated from 225 to 200. So I got $200, I mean, a $25,000 price break on it. Pushed it back out, I think, with that discount at 220. Had some more interest, but time was running short, so I started hatching a secondary plan to buy the property and take it down, do a little minimal rehab, and put it on the market, which we ended up doing. I partnered with Glenn, who is not here, but he's been coming. He lent me 200,000. We actually partnered on it, so he brought 200,000 on the deal. I put like 10 grand into it, basically cleaned it out, painted, patched some stuff, painted some stuff, made a few minor repairs, pulled up some old carpet. And we had it on the market like in basically a week and a half. That was on Thursday. It hit the market. We had, I think, 4 or 5 offers this weekend. We took a cash offer at 270 cash, no contingencies. 2-week close. So we're going to close on that in less than 2 weeks for probably 40, 50K profit. And that was a deal done in this room. So excited about that. Big win for us and a partnership within our little group here. So yay for me and Glenn.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a cool little deal. Easy. Went right on. A lot of interest. So it can happen.
And was that Mike Weber who listed that one, Mike?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
had
That's good. I saw that one.
Weber's been doing all of my listing activities. So he's been listing all of our properties pretty much.
Nice.
We've got another one under contract, which is a property that we bought last year, pre-foreclosure that we bought last year. And it was one of these ones where we bought it from the couple and basically leased it back to them, which I'm not doing anymore, but it's worked a couple times. And they lived in it for about a year, not even. And the guy didn't really hold up his end of the bargain. The way it worked was we stopped the foreclosure, we made the payment to reinstate it. We paid out a pretty small portion of his equity, which he really just wanted to stay in the house, and he would have done a lot better by just selling us the house. But he wanted to stay in it, so we paid him like a fraction of his equity, let him stay in the house. We put a little bit of money aside in the event that he didn't pay rent. So the deal was we gave him 6 months free rent, and then he was supposed to start paying rent after 6 months, which he didn't do. And so we basically had to get him out of the house. We fixed it up. We listed it a few weeks ago. That was Main Street, another one that Weber pushed out. And we're closing on that one at the end of the month too. And we're gonna make like 70 grand on that one. So that's win number 2.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah,
was that one
what's up,
a
McLean? Go ahead, man.
was that a lease option with that second property?
No, no, it's not a lease option. We bought the house from him
Okay.
and we leased it back to him. So it was like a lease back, which I've now done a couple times, and I've now had to evict 2 people from the house that they were living in. I say evict. Fortunately, in both cases, you know, I had built relationships with these people. They trusted me, and they were both sadly resigned to the fact that they didn't hold up their end of the deal, and they both just kind of ended up just leaving the house basically without me having to actually evict them, which is why I say I'm not going to do this anymore, because had I had to actually evict them from the house, it would have been a nightmare. I can only imagine. So we thought that was a good idea. when we were doing it last year, and we've gotten burnt twice on it now, and I'm like, we're not doing that anymore because I don't want to have to actually evict somebody from that situation. I can only imagine the legal implications of that would not be pretty. So don't do that. Although we did well on this one, and we're in process of excuse me, cleaning up the other one, and we're going to rent it back out to somebody else. So we've done fine on them, but again, the thought of the legal process of essentially buying someone's house at a discount, renting it back to them, and then evicting them 6 months later, I don't think would sit very well in a court case. So it was sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a newbie move to some degree, but it's fortunately it's worked out. But the thought of having gone through another eviction recently on one of our properties terrifies me to think of what that process would have been like had they refused to leave or been difficult or anything. So that's that story.
Okay.
Hey, Mike,
Yep,
I
yep.
had a quick question. We're just hoping to get
Okay.
some advice from the group. So last week, so I followed up. I was cold calling and I got a lead, call for a property. She's like, I'm not selling this, and I'm calling through a foreclosure list, right? She's like, I'm not selling this, but I'll sell this other home. I'm like, great. So, went through the qualifying questions, and motivation is there, right? She's like, listen, if I can get a deal on my second home, it will help me get out of foreclosure for my primary home, and I don't want to sell my primary home. And I'm like, great, let's see how we can work something out here, something that makes sense for you, something that makes sense for me. Um, and I try to, I set up an appointment. I try to do it like as fast as possible. She's like, hey, I got stuff going on. I can't do that until like the following week. So as we head into the weekend, knowing that there's still motivation there, that there is a distress seller here, I keep following up, following up, following up, but she's just kind of ghosted, cut the line. How do you revive a lead like that? I mean, I'm guessing the answer is follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. But is there anything that you're doing besides, sending the calls or the texts, like anything else?
I might go knock on the door as a last resort, but yeah, I mean, call, text, email. People have stuff going on. I had one recently. Unfortunately, it ended up going to auction. I think we might have talked about it in the last. Actually, she called me, if you guys remember, in one of the
Oh,
last
yeah.
trainings 2 weeks ago. The woman was dealing with her father's estate. I had talked to her several months ago. Um, we had a great conversation. It sounded like we were getting ready to do a deal, and then complete silence. And come to find out, she had been admitted to the hospital. She was having health troubles. It sounded like, her sister ended up calling me last week when we were on the training and saying, like, she's basically out of commission. I think, you just never know what somebody is going through. Could it be, she's got a solution, or, maybe you said something, you did something, what all the things that you're thinking it could be, yes, but also most of the times I find it's on the seller, and especially in pre-foreclosure, they're stressed, got a million things going on, they're just not responsive. You just have to keep following up. Um, and you know, sometimes they call you, sometimes they don't. Go knock on the door, maybe. I've definitely done that. You want to try and walk the fine line of following up versus, feeling like you're harassing somebody, but
Right.
when's the auction?
So this one particular, for her home, I'm not 100% sure, but the one that said she was open to selling is actually going through probate because it was her grandfather who left it to her,
Mm.
and it has no mortgage. She's like, it does need work. I said, great, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I kind of shot her an offer. She's like, highest I've gone was, 50,000 or something like that. And I said, great. If I give you 60,
Yeah.
can I send paperwork over now? Like, I don't even need to go take a look at it.
Yeah.
Because I was just right around just knowing the numbers. But well, after that, I just she responded back. She was like, let's wait until you come out and see the home. And then she just kind of ghosted me after that.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I
same
think
with the listing.
the important, well, I guess the important factor is when is her primary going, and when is the auction for the primary?
Hmm.
I guess it is and it isn't. If she has this house that she may want to sell, I guess it's not really your problem per se that she needs the cash to sell the other one to shore this one up. So maybe there's still a deal there. But it's important to her. And if this other one is in probate, that can take months depending on that situation. So I mean, it sounds to me like, you just gotta keep
Following up.
on with the follow-up and, hit her up once, twice a week, be respectful of the situation, but hey, I'm here as a resource. I haven't heard from you. I hope everything's okay. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Those kinds of messages that lets her know that you're still
Thank you.
available.
Cool.
Alex, what's up?
I was just going to say in response to Jay that that scenario has happened to me at least 4 or 5 times, whether they were in contact with my VA or myself. And then, you engage with them, and then they just ghost. I think there is only so much you could do. Like Mike said, you can consider door knocking, maybe depending on what your level of engagement was with them, but ultimately you can't force somebody to answer the phone, right, or to respond. So maybe follow up a lot at the beginning and then put them on a little drip, and then eventually it fades away. I think it was one of the meetups here that Jennifer Bond had joined, and she said that she gives herself a limit. I think it's like 6 or 7 attempts, and then after that, she considers it a waste of time. So to protect herself and her time, that's kind of where she'll cut it off. So, create sort of like a follow-up schedule in that sense. And if you had good engagement, maybe give yourself like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 attempts, up to 10 attempts or something, text, call, email, whatever. And then after that, you just got to protect yourself and move on.
Appreciate that.
Cool. Good advice, Alex. Thank you. All right. I would like to pivot to today's topic. Sorry, I'm the only one that got to share any wins, but I'm sure other people, maybe if we've got a few minutes, we can jump back into it. But I would like to, what am I trying to do here? How do I share? Is my screen sharing right now? I am. Okay. Do this. All right. So I did want to take a minute, and this is what I was talking about. So one of the things that I've been doing personally, one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits, picked it up again the last couple weeks because I have definitely been in a not a funk with lead gen by any means, but in the process of trying to grow and scale my business and put some pieces and processes into place and get myself organized. picked it back up, started reading it again. It's a great book. If you guys haven't read it, highly recommend it. But one of the things that they talk about, like in the beginning of the book, is this idea of like, your habits being a lagging measure, or your outcomes being a lagging measure of your habits. And that's a little bit what we were kind of talking about earlier with these feelings that you feel in what they call the valley of disappointment, when you look at your habits and your actions and what you think should be happening versus how it actually happens. And so Alex and everybody else that feels like, I've been trying to find my deal, I've been trying to find my deal. What I'm encouraging you all to do is to continue with the positive activity that is ultimately going to lead to your success, whether that is lead gen, whether that is learning and getting your license, whether that is building relationships or whatever, because all of these things that you're doing that is positive will compound, and ultimately you'll get out of that, valley of disappointment. But the same thing can happen with the negative stuff too. And I fall victim to this, and everybody does. Like, you get stressed, you start having negative thoughts, you get upset about a deal that falls through. All of that stuff can, God, my spelling is really bad in here, can compound and, keep you in that same kind of area of disappointment, when the key is being able to kind of push through that time and continue those positive activities that's ultimately going to pull you out of that and lead to your success. So just something to think about. I thought it was funny that we were kind of talking about that earlier on, while I'm literally reading it and planning on talking about it anyways. But it's very real. You guys all know we're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter where in this process you are. Like, I've been in the valley of disappointment when it comes to finding my first deal. I've been in it when it's come to, trying to do more deals. Like, it's hard to not fall back into it, especially when things aren't working and you feel like you're never going to find a deal, or you're never going to find your next deal. But ultimately, you will, if you keep with your consistency in your action. And I think that's where most people fall short. That is where most people fail. Is number one, either they think, they're going to pick up the phone for the week, and maybe they make some calls consistently for a week and they don't get anything out of it, and they say, well, I'm a failure. Well, it doesn't take a week. It doesn't take 2 weeks. It takes months of continuous activity, knowledge, learning, failing, relationship building to ultimately become successful. So you have to be able to push through that feeling and those feelings and thoughts to be able to ultimately, gain some traction. It doesn't happen overnight. And so anyways, my mindset tip of the week, going back to kind of our conversation earlier, and it also leads into what we're talking about today, which is finding motivated sellers. Where do we find them? How do we find them? What strategies do we use? Again, this is basic. If you guys have questions as we go about this stuff, feel free to just chime in. I'm not looking at the screen, so if you raise your hand, I might not see it. But if you want to just speak up, I'm fine with that. So obviously, what is a motivated seller? Somebody who's willing to sacrifice money for time and convenience. They want a quick closing, they want cash, they don't want to deal with showings and all of that. That we know is a motivated seller. Obviously, again, common motivations, foreclosure being my favorite, but there's lots of other ways people get motivated to sell these properties. Job loss, debt, divorce, death, aka probate, again, inheriting, aka probate, properties that are damaged, tired landlords, or unwanted rental properties, all the common motivations that we see You can throw liens in there. You could throw even on market stuff that's been sitting on market for a while, or expired listings, or for sale by owners, which is not on here, but also high levels of motivation. Sometimes, maybe not with for sale by owners all the time, but so what strategies do we use? These are some of my favorites. I don't really do much online stuff yet, but I do a lot of mailing. Handwritten letters is what I do. I've got a photocopied stack of letters that I just wrote. These are my pre-foreclosure ones specifically. I just wrote one letter. I put it on blue paper. I photocopied it. Why is it doing that? Photocopied it. I'll read it to you guys if you want me to. But all I do is fill in their name, their address, and the auction date. So, dear so-and-so, I'm writing in regards to your property at 123 Main Street. See, the property is scheduled for auction on X date. I'm reaching out to make sure you have a solution to prevent foreclosure. Nobody wants to lose their home. I know how difficult that thought may be. I can help you make the best of a bad situation. Don't wait until it's too late. Foreclosure is the last thing you want. You can resolve this on your own terms. Call or text me today. That's my letter. Somebody just replied to it this week or last week. Had an appointment with them. They said, I had no idea my property was in foreclosure. I'm so glad I got your letter. Will I get a deal out of it? I'm not sure. But I had a great conversation with the guy. I followed up with him today. I talked to him, actually, it was 2 weeks ago. He's working with, whatever agency, or maybe Social Security. He's supposed to collect Social Security. He hasn't gotten a Social Security payment. So it sounds like he might have a solution, but he said, man, I really enjoyed our conversation. Like, I am still even thinking about selling the property. I've been here for 40 years. Like, he's scared to move out, but he is considering selling the property, it sounds like, regardless. And he said, if I do decide to sell, you're going to be my first phone call. And I said, great. I'll follow up with you in a couple weeks, make sure, see what's going on. And, that's one example. I've got 10 other templated letters that I send out for different, distress indicators. I've got ones for probate. I've got ones for just regular, driving for dollars properties. I've got what else? I don't know. I've got a bunch of just generic different versions of things. I also send out some mail through my CRM. It's more of a generic letter, but the way that I like to do these foreclosures is, when we've talked about my lead gen strategy, but I call them, I text them, I email them. If I can't get a hold of them any other way, I've got a stack of envelopes here. I've got some stamps, and all I do is fill in 2 or 3 pieces of information, lick a stamp, stick it on, send it out. I try and send out 5 or 10 of those a day if I can. And they work. The handwritten letters work. You can try other stuff. I've tried a bunch of stuff. Handwritten letters are the way to go with direct mail if you decide you want to do that. Driving for dollars, of course, always a great one. Knock on a door, stick a sticky note on the door. I'm interested in buying your property. I know I've mentioned this more than once, but there's a guy in the Fredericksburg area that I've met recently, and he's been just literally driving around knocking on doors, and it seems like he gets a deal every week, just knocking on doors, tall grass, gutters falling off, hole in the roof, goes up, knocks on the door, builds rapport with the seller. It seems like his script is more like, he's looking for something. He told me last week the guy had a boat sitting out in front of his house. He walked up, knocked on the door, started asking the guy about his boat first, talked about the boat for 30 minutes, and then started talking to him about the house. And I think he put the property under contract. So figure out a way to get in with people. You see, like, they've got kids' toys out front. Maybe ask them, hey, I don't know. That's kind of a weird one. You got kids. That's kind of a bizarre one, but try and figure out a way to connect with people, and then talk about the house as a secondary thing. the online stuff, you know, works. I use social media for sure for lead gen, just DMing people. If I can't get a hold of them on the phone, I can't get a hold of them via text or email, I'll search their name. If they've got a little bit of a unique name, I can track them down on social media. I'll send them a DM. That's worked plenty of times. Of course, paid ads, social media ads, Google ads work like anything with consistency. They don't happen overnight and they cost a lot more money, in my experience, than some of these other direct mail, driving for dollars, cold calling activities. You know, having a website is great. I've had a website for 3 years now and it needs a lot of work. But I know SEO is a big one. People spend a lot of money on SEO, but again, it takes 6 months, a year, 2 years for any of that to have any traction. And a lot of it requires maintenance, it requires updating, it requires you know, doing things like getting Google reviews and posting them. And I just haven't been diligent personally with that, although it's one of my priority to-dos right now is to get somebody to go in and play with my website because I'm no good at it. If anybody's got a good SEO person. And of course, networking is a huge one. I've gotten 2 or 3 of my biggest deals from my grid network, which is, you know, basically me going and talking to people about real estate, but you don't need to have your own, you know, networking group to go talk to people. Go to other networking groups, and talk to agents, talk to local attorneys, probate attorneys, divorce attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys. Contractors are another great one. My biggest deal to date came from a contractor referral, somebody in my network. We partnered on it, did an ovation, huge deal. But again, going back to habit building, you know, kind of what we talked about in the mindset stuff, like it is a compounding of a lot of things that ultimately lead to multiple deals, more deals, your first deal, and it doesn't happen overnight. So you can do other things data wise, list stacking, of course. I know Alex and I have done some of that with buying of lists, stacked lists. Did they work? You know, Alex got a deal. I've gotten a couple deals that way. Again, I think it's hard when you do low volume. I think it becomes a volume game with some of these larger lists and trying to hire people to do the calling for you. I think you really have to do that. My experience has been uh, do it consistently again, but you have to do volume because you're going to end up with a lot of leads that may not ultimately be high motivation. So not only do you have to get lots of those leads, you have to also have a good follow-up system for those leads. And a lot of them might not be a deal today, but they may be a deal in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. So having a good system behind your lead generation and list stacking and cold calling is very important, which leads me to your CRM. This doesn't have to be a paid CRM. This could be a Google spreadsheet, which is how I started. The paid ones are great because you can do things like build automations for follow-up, build tracking automations, make sure that you're following up with people on a timely basis. Unless you're super detail oriented. I feel like sometimes I am with certain things, but keeping a running spreadsheet of leads started to get a little cumbersome for me, which is at the point when I had done a couple deals and decided to invest into a CRM. Much more helpful. And then skip tracing, obviously, we know most of us know what that is, using something like batch leads or PropStream or any of these other ones to take a list of properties and find contact information, phone numbers, emails, mailing addresses, those types of things, so that you can start doing your outreach. And then how do we do that? Cold calling, of course. You know, we've talked some about scripting, we've talked some about objection handling. But you know, when you're getting started, it's just important to have a basic script. Like, just have a few good questions to ask. I don't remember who it was. It looks like he's gone now, but he talked about bird dogging. You know, you can bird dog with a very basic script, like, hey, I'm an investor in the area. I'm reaching out to property owners. We're interested in buying this, and we're interested in buying some property in this area. Do you know anybody who's interested in selling? I mean, that's the basic bird dog script. Yes, I'd love to schedule an appointment with, you know, my partner. No, thanks for your time. Would you mind if I followed up, or do you know anybody else that may be looking to sell a property? You can do a lot of damage with that very simple script. You can make some money, you can learn. So cold calling, texting, of course. You know, my strategy with cold texting is very basic. Oh, what did I do? Uh-oh. Sorry. Concise messages. Hey, is this John's phone? Is usually my opening message on a cold text. Is this so-and-so's phone? Just to try and identify somebody, just to try and get a conversation started.
Hey, Mike,
Yep.
I got a quick question about your text messaging campaign. Do you run that through your CRM?
I have text message campaigns that run through my CRM, but when I'm doing cold outreach, because I focus on foreclosure, I want to be utilizing that data in real time. So I mainly use my personal phone, and I mainly do one-off cold calling and texting. So cold outreach, no. Follow up and everything else, yes, through my CRM. Can you do it with a CRM? Yes, if you're able to put large lists into your CRM or a texter. You know, there's lots of text softwares out there now. You can do large volume texting, although that's becoming more and more difficult. I understand. I don't do it. I've never had a problem. I've never had any issues with my personal line in now 3 years of cold outreach, cold calling, and texting from my personal phone. So that's just kind of how I've done it. Again, door knocking, of course, is a big one. It's not one that a lot of people do. I think it's a big differentiator. I think can be very intimidating for a lot of people. You know, bring somebody with you, make sure you're not putting yourself into bad situations, know your surroundings, those kinds of things. But man, I can't tell you, like, I think door knocking is so powerful. I don't do enough of it. I do door knock and it does work. But because of the areas that I focus on, it's hard for me to spend a lot of time door knocking. So I usually stick to cold call and text and email and social media. But I see the power in door knocking. I see people doing it at a high level. I see people that just door knock doing extremely well. One of the ways that I see people do it is they might send, they'll create like lists of properties they want to door knock. So they'll say, let's say they want to go door knock 20 properties this day. A week ahead of time, they'll send out 20 letters to those people and send them out a week ahead of time so that when they come the next week, they've received the letter, and that's kind of their opener. Hey, I sent you this letter. I don't know if you got it last week or this week. Maybe they do it a couple weeks ahead of time, but I just wanted to follow up and, put a face with the name. I'm looking for some property in the area. I was just reaching out to see if you might be interested in selling. I think that's a great way to kind of like, intro yourself without being too like abrupt. They've already seen the letter come through. Just stop by, knock on the door, say, hey, I sent you a letter. Did you happen to see it? I like it. And then this is kind of like what I was talking about earlier with the other door knocker. You can do this with cold calling too. It's a little bit harder, but find a way to connect with people. Use stories, even if you've not maybe helped somebody with a specific situation. Use stories or examples maybe that you've heard of how people have helped people out of these situations. Tailor it to them, connect with them on a personal level, of course. A big part of it is education too. Especially again, I always lean back on foreclosures, because that's kind of my wheelhouse, but explaining to people why a cash offer, if it's not a foreclosure, why a cash offer, or why working with an investor may be better solution for them rather than listing a property or, with an agent. All the benefits of cash offers, quick closes, selling as is, no hassles, no showings, no agent fees, no commissions, paying all the closing costs. It becomes an education process. And of course, trust building. I talked about that a little bit as well. But this is where the money is, right here. Between mindset and follow-up, the more I think about it, the more I talk about it, like those are the two things that are going to ultimately lead to your success. Being able to push through the hard times when things don't feel like they're going your way, or you're not making progress, being consistent with your activity, with your networking, with your just being consistent and being able to push through. And then on the other end of that, being consistent with your follow-up is where a lot of people fall short. Like this lead that Jay's talking about, a lot of people, they might give up on that lead, but I personally know how a lot of motivated sellers are. And a lot of the times, they just get into these funks. They get into something else is going on, or everything is going on, and they just don't want to respond to anybody. It's not just you. They're not talking to anybody in these situations. So if you're the one that's just kind of gently following up with them and just letting them know that you're still there, when they come out of that funk, hopefully you're the one that they're thinking about. So I talk a little bit about this using a little bit of a mixed strategy when it comes to how you're reaching out, but also how you're following up. Sometimes call doesn't always work. Sometimes text doesn't always work. Get their email when you talk to them, send them an email. And then being clear with them about next steps, Jay, maybe there was a little bit of a lapse there. I don't know, but whether it's in the next appointment or a closing or a walkthrough, like you've got to be on top of these people with your follow-up, what your steps are, when you're going to communicate with them, over communicate with them. If I'm setting an appointment, if I set an appointment with somebody, I'm going to text them immediately or email them immediately or both right after that appointment to confirm what I just told them. Then I'm going to text them the day before. Then I'm going to text them the morning of, because not only do I not want to waste my time following up, like going to an appointment or scheduling a call or whatever. I want to make sure that it's crystal clear when I'm going to be calling them, when I'm going to be communicating with them. So again, all stuff we've covered. But I think it's important to remember. I think it's important to, especially when it comes to the mindset stuff, reflect on the activity that you've been doing. The reason why I picked this book back up is because I've been so distracted lately with stuff in the business that my lead gen keeps slipping. My lead gen keeps slipping. My lead gen's been inconsistent. How do I fix that? It comes down to creating better habits around lead gen, making time for lead gen, making prioritizing lead gen over administrative activities, other phone calls, other busy work. And so that's my message for today. I think that's it. What questions do we have? It's 5:11. Got a few minutes. Any thoughts, questions, concerns, ahas, anything we'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I think this was
Said a
great.
lot.
I mean, especially as like going into the fourth quarter, right? Like I'll throw, we'll just share like our team right now is kind of doing a challenge. We're doing $5,000 between now and December, right? Like, and my goal is like, how can I track that? How can I stay consistent with that? And then not just that, but if I'm doing the activity, I should be adding people to that database. So then what does my follow-up look like after? Um, and seeing previous team members that went through that challenge already, a lot of them were like, man, I feel like I'm doing a lot of dials, but I still haven't gotten anything, right? And it's like, well, let's look at what that future of that pipeline looks like. So, like you said, we could feel like we're coming under, but we're actually, just curving up.
Yep.
So I think this was a great training.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to grasp when you're in it, when you're in that period of like, God, nothing is working. I'm making all the calls, I'm doing everything that I feel like I should be doing. I'm getting nothing, I'm getting nothing, I'm getting nothing. But I can only tell you from experience. I can only tell you from the experience of other people that I know. And this is something that is always the conversation with investors, whether you're an agent, you're an investor, whatever it is, like you have to continue to push through that. Otherwise, you're just gonna fall back into it and you're gonna fall deeper into it and you're gonna give up or you're gonna quit. And I think that's ultimately what happens to most people is they just get stuck in that, feeling of like, this isn't working, or I don't know what I'm doing, or whatever. But by having conversations with sellers, by going to networking events, by, coming to this training or going to other trainings or other masterminds or whatever, all of that activity is building up. It's building up. You're gaining knowledge, you're gaining experience, you're learning these lessons, you're feeling like you're failing, but that's learning. And when it starts to happen, like you're like, it feels even better, like on the other side of it. But it's pushing through all of that feeling and the struggle and the hard part that most people give up on. So, um, but yeah, good recognition. And Jay, I know you're one that's going to push through that because I see your activity and I see you being consistent and like you just keep doing that and you've got a couple deals under your belt and like it just compounds itself.
Yeah, my goal is just to try to get a better 1% at a time. And thank you, by the way, because you've been great help. And I'm actually just as you're talking, I'm thinking like, well, I do have like a VA, right? So like in my brain, I'm thinking, how can I stay consistent with her as well? Like, how can I make sure that I'm staying consistent with at least meeting once a week, going over like, hey, what did you, you know, going over like what, you know, we added 5 people. Why did we add them? You know, what made you feel like they were great ads? Or, you know, we average X amount of conversations. How can we push for more? Um, so you got me thinking about that too.
Right on. Anybody else? Questions? Thoughts?
Yes, hi. Hi, everybody. This is my first meeting
Hi,
here.
Paula.
How are you,
I'm
Mike?
doing great. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I'm just starting in this real estate investment, so I'm a very newbie, but I have been studying, I have been doing my work. I have started like a month and a half ago, so I have been putting some ads, cold calling, texting, cold texting. I haven't done door knocking, but I'm planning to do so. I'm also like just wondering what are the softwares that you are using? I'm using uh, uh, PropStream, PropWire, REI Works, three of them. So, but somehow I feel that it gives sometimes like not like the accurate information. So just had this question going on in my head since I need to do, of course, more networking and get to know everybody. I'm just with this motivation to start getting going and get my feet wet. And I hopefully, and whatever you have told recently, I totally agree with you. It's
Yep.
just like keep
Yep.
going, and take the downside of this in a positive way, like in a more constructive and educational.
Yeah.
So thank you for this.
Of course, yeah. So, you know, one of the things that I didn't say, but I was thinking of this in the beginning, is that there's no magic pill for any of this. You know what I mean? Like the data is the same data, whether you're using prop streams or batch leads or whatever. You know, I use batch leads personally. I've used prop stream. I've used property leads or whatever. I've tried them. I've tried most of them. I've settled with batch leads for most of my data. I use um, I get most of my data because I focus on pre-foreclosures directly from the trustee sites, which I share with the group, and it's no secret. Again, it's all public information. But yes, what you say about PropStream and the data is that it's all to some degree either lagging or inaccurate to some degree or something. The phone numbers some of them are good, most of them are junk. Like there is no magic pill for any of that stuff that I know of. Otherwise, everybody would be using it. So everybody's fighting that same fight. I think it comes down to how persistent are you going to be? What methods are you going to use? And that's why I personally like to try and use a little bit of everything. Like I don't just cold call. I cold call, I text, I email, I use social media, I door knock, I do a little bit of everything and mail as well, because it seems like none of it really, it all works, but none of it, is a catch-all, you know what I mean? So some numbers are bad, some emails are bad, some addresses are bad. If I do a little bit of everything, it seems like what's worked for me. Eventually it becomes unscalable. I'm at that point now where I'm like, okay, I gotta really figure out a couple drivers for my business to really be driving my lead gen. I can still do a little bit of everything that works, but like in order to scale, in order to build a business to a high level, I've got to get really good at one or two of those things. So I'm kind of at that point where I'm ready to like really invest some time and money into probably direct mail and cold calling are going to be what I'm gonna lean on, because that's where I've had most of my success. Um, but at the end of the day, again, I think it just comes down to consistency and persistency with whichever method that you use. And I haven't found any one of these softwares to be better than the others. They're all fine. Some, you know, Some people have preferences over them, but I don't really see much difference. The software that's best is going to be the one you use. Same way with the CRM that's best is going to be the one that you use and that you're using regularly and that you're updating. There's no magic pill.
Understood. Thank you.
Anybody else? I got a couple more minutes here. I just heard my kids kick in the door, so anybody else have any thoughts or questions?
I was curious if, maybe for a future training or so, if we can take a deeper dive on the lead sources.
Okay.
So like, for example, like right now I've been, like I said, like doing a lot of foreclosures and stuff like that.
Yep.
Just kind of looking at like lead sources that we can fish
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, I had kind of intended on that being this, but I saw that there was a lot of new people coming today, so I kind of took a little bit of step back from the. So maybe we'll do that next week, Jay. We can dive in a little bit more to the specifics of how to find foreclosure leads, how to find probate leads, how to find whatever. We'll take a look at everything maybe a little bit more in depth next week. I think this is a good jumping off point to that conversation. And thank you for asking that. Because I did want to dive into that a little bit, and I started thinking like, let me kind of just talk a little bit more generically today, and we can dig into that next week.
Yeah. Because I was finding like I feel like I'm reaching the right crowd, but when I've been adding somebody to my database, it feels like they're either one already in auction or two, somebody else got a hold of them quicker, which is okay. It's telling me that I'm like moving in the right direction. I just there's a piece that I need to cut so I can get ahead of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I can do some screen sharing around that next week, kind of how to actually find some of the data, which, yeah, we'll talk about it next week. I don't want to get into the weeds of it too much right now.
There you have it, folks. If you want to learn how to close more deals, be here Monday.
Hey, Mike, real quick,
Yeah,
do you happen
appreciate
to have
it.
any updates on a potential contact list for everybody in here so we can start reaching
Thank
out to
you
each
for
other?
reminding me. No.
All good. I know you've been
Thank you
busy.
for reminding me. Yes. I will build a contact form this week and get an email out this week to get some contact information for everybody. I think that's a great resource. There's mine. That's all I can do for now.
Maybe something on the in the same drive where the videos are at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just gonna build a little spreadsheet and I'll send it out to everybody so they can punch in their info. I'll get that out tomorrow. Thank you guys. Good to see everybody. Great training. It was good to see such a large, I think this is the biggest group we've had in a while. So thank you. Gives me energy, keeps me pushing forward. And you guys know how to reach me. Hit me up if I can be a resource. Good to see everybody. Have a great week. Kill it. I'll see you next week.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.